So this is using Ollama now. And with Light LLM, all you have to do is just switch that to say Ollama/Llama 3.2. And this is the API base. So now it's going to be running on my computer right there. It's going to be using Llama 3.2 to achieve the same thing. Oops, there we go. Hang on. Let's run that. So my computer, I can see it was very quick again. My GPU like spiked up for a second. So let's see what we got here. Well, let's compare. You can see immediately that Llama 3.2, while it was completely free, it's, as you will see from that very precise cost, 0.000 cents. It's not done so well in terms of the output. You can see that it's got like something funny going on with the title here. It didn't put the word title. It instead put a markdown title in there. Category, it says home security, which feels like that's a very specific category. I don't actually care that much whether these categories are going to be a hint to the LLM that's trying to guess a price later. But still, you want a category that feels right like that. The brand it got right. The description provides a secure and stylish entrance solution. It's fine. But it's clearly not got the precision of OSS 20B. Actually, this has made me just want to mention one other thing. You might notice the output tokens is only 48, and the output tokens here is a much bigger number, and yet they look visually the same. And this, when I saw that 125, I remember thinking, surely that's way fewer than 125 output tokens. The thing is, it's worth knowing that when Light LLM counts the output tokens, it's including these things called reasoning tokens, which is the tokens that OSS created while it was thinking through how to come up with the best answer. So it did have a few of those reasoning tokens as well, because this is closer to 48 here. It's a nice and short description. Okay, so for you, if you do wish to go through and work on this, you can choose to use Llama 3.2 for your data. Of course, it takes a long time. Llama 3.2 isn't exactly super speedy, but you can rewrite everything in Llama 3.2, and still this data will be much, much better than the original data. But I'm going to use Groq with a Q. That's how we are going to pre-process all of our data. And I'm going to do this for the 20,000 in the light data set, and also for the 800,000 or 820,000 in the full data set as well. And I'm going to use this batch mode as a way to do it really fast and at half the price. Let's go do that now. So from this point onwards, we're going to be focusing on using Groq with a Q for the rest of this lab, but you can apply something similar to OpenAI directly if you wish. They have almost exactly the same API, or you could just loop through and use Llama 3.2 for the 20,000 dataset if you prefer. But this is what we're going to do. So first up, we are going to have this little helper function that is going to make a line of JSON, a single line of JSON for each of the different requests that we want to make to Groq with a Q. That's how batch mode works. You remember we talked about this briefly in week 5. JSONL is a type of file which isn't just one JSON blob, which is what a JSON file is, but it's a file where every line is a separate JSON document. That's called a JSONL, JSON lines. And what we're going to have on each line is something which says what model we want. It has messages, which is going to be the usual OpenAI list of dictionaries with system prompt, and the user prompt will be the full item. You can see that what we've got here is it mirrors the call we actually made before up here. So it's exactly that call we're putting in our JSON file. And we're also, in each line, you also have to put an ID number to identify each line that you're sending in batch mode, because you're later going to get back responses for each line in your input file. And this is why I set that ID to be the number of each item, because we're going to use that as a way of queuing what is in each line. Okay, so that's called make JSONL. And to make this real for you, let me show you what that looks like for make JSONL of items 0. This, as a reminder, is what items 0 is. I think we know this one well now. It is this Andover interior knob with deadbolt. This is what happens if I call make JSONL with item 0. I get custom ID is 0 because that's the ID we set. Method is post, chat completions, and then here you'll see that there is the list of dicks, system, user, and the whole thing is in there from the unstructured data, and then reasoning effort low. That is what we get back, what we call make JSONL. It like represents one API call in one line of JSON. Okay, so now I've got a function make file, which is going to go through and make a complete file by iterating through each item from start to end and make a JSONL file. And again, if you're not sure what I mean, it's going to become absolutely clear to you now. I'm going to call makefile starting at index 0, going up to index 1000. I want you to make me a JSONL file, call it 0_1000.jsonl and put it in a folder called JSONL. Let me run that. It's run. Let's go and take a look. Here's a folder called JSONL I've got right here. Here's the file we just created. And this, hopefully, is where this will make sense to you. It's a file which has, if I scroll all the way down, hopefully it will have 1,000 lines. Let's see, it does indeed have 1,000 lines. And if we go back up to the top again, all the way back, here's the first line. Each one you can see has a custom ID, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And as I go along, you'll see that each one looks like an API call. It's got this body here, which says, what is the model we're trying to call? And then here are the messages, role, system, content, create a concise description, etc., etc. And so each of these, you can look through, each line is passing in a different piece of unstructured data from an item. And we're going to ask Groq to go through this whole file and process all of this together to give us our results. Okay, and remember, if you're not following all of this, get some intuition for what I'm talking about, batch calling an LLM through JSONL files, and you'll be able to reap the rewards of this. I'm going to upload the results. You'll be able to download them and use them as is yourself. Okay, so now I'm using Groq. Provides a library, Groq, which we're going to use directly. If you call OpenAI in batch mode, it's basically exactly the same. Groq copied OpenAI on this, and it's pretty standard for this approach for most of the providers. Okay, so I'm initializing the Groq library by passing in my Groq API key. Okay, so when you're working in batch mode, there are simply these steps that you need to do. There are basically the 3 steps. You create a file. You then use that file to create a batch, and then you retrieve the batch. And that's what we're going to do right now. So the first thing you do is you create a file in Groq. We're telling Groq, I've got this file. It's called 0_1000.json. I want you to upload this file, and the purpose is it's for batch purposes. That's what it is. I am just now uploading that file to Groq, and back it came with a file response, which has an ID in it, and it has how many bytes that it's created, the name, the purpose, and so on. And now I can collect that ID. So this is now a file that I've uploaded to Groq. It's sitting up there on Groq with this ID. Done. We've created our file. We've created the file. It's time now for us to use that file to create a batch. And so for that, we don't call groq.files.create. We call groq.batches.create. We say we need you to complete this sometime in the next 24 hours. No rush. Take your time, because that's how we get half price. We say that it's a chat completions, that's just standard, and we give it the input file, the ID of the file we just uploaded, which has JSONL. Every line is a different API request. So we have just created our batch. There we go. It's got this batch ID. Let's collect that ID here we go. Response.id is where we get that ID. And when we're ready, we can then do the next step, which is to retrieve that batch and see what's happening with it. So here we go. We did groq.files.create to create the file. Then we did groq.batches.create to make a batch from the file. And now we're doing groq.batches.retrieve to now find out what's going on. We get back, here is the batch ID, the completion window, the endpoint, the input file ID, the status is completed. So Groq had 24 hours to do it, but it did it just like that, which is usually the case for files like this. It will be no problem at all. It will have happened to you too, I expect, if you were doing this. No errors. Everything looks great. So it happened. We've been successful already. And there is then another step I should mention, which is to actually collect the results. And you do that with groq.files.content. So here we go. groq.files.content, and I just wrote that to a file called batchresults.jsonl, also in the JSONL directory. Let's have a look. Here it is. Batch results is right here. And here we have it. So this is the contents of the file. It's a file with each line is a JSONL, it's a chunk of JSON. Look, these custom IDs, they don't match. It doesn't come back in the order that we sent it, because this thing went off and there was like a farm of Groq processors that handled it. And back it came in some different order. So we can't rely on the order of the file. We need to look at this custom ID. And you'll see that here are lots of responses. And if you look into them, you'll find that somewhere along the way here, we should have indeed our actual answer. If I scroll to the right, here's the body. There's an ID in here, and then we're gonna see that there's actually the response, where we'll see the response.content. Here we go, the master assistant content, and you can see right here appearing on the screen. You see this? All of these titles. These are all of the titles coming back from the model. Title, category, brand. Showing through. We have got back responses from Groq for each of these items. Brilliant. And now finally, we can just write some vanilla Python code that will iterate through that, and then we can collect the ID and then use that to pluck out what is the summary. And look at this line here. Items ID.summary is the summary that we will pluck out from that JSONL line. And that is what we will run next, and then we will examine the results.